This is a Thunder Game Report.
I guess I'll just start with an opening comment, and then you guys can fire away. Really pleased about the opportunity to add Butler to our team and to our organization, also to the community. He's somebody that we feel like is going to add and complement to our team. He brings physicality, which I feel like, we're a pretty physical team, but as you head into the latter half of the season, if you're going to play in meaningful games, you want to continue to have a physical presence. He does that on both ends of the floor. He's a guy that can make shots and make timely shots. We think that's a compliment to the group that we have. And it's added depth. As we've seen through this season, we're going to need everybody. We've had a lot of different scenarios thrown at us. I'm really happy to say that I think we've dealt with them pretty well, especially through the preparation that our coaches have put in place in terms of developing the entire roster and having guys that can be utilized. And Karan's another person that we feel like can add to the group, and we're really excited about adding him. So with that, I would answer any questions that you guys have.
When did you first start to get into your mind to realize that we need to bring someone else into the roster?
Well, it's in response to your question. I think it's not necessarily the way we look at it as a need, but I think we look at it more as an opportunity. We feel really good about the group that we have. The guys that have got us to this point deserve a lot of credit. They've put in a lot of time, and the guys have played well. At the same time, we're always trying to find ways where we can enhance and help fortify the group that's in place. And we feel like Karan's someone that can do that for the reasons that I mentioned earlier.
Sam, was he able to get into town? Is he here now? Kind of what is his?
Yeah, that's a little bit of an adventure at the moment, as you can imagine. Good thing is he's from Milwaukee, so from Racine, I should say. So he's not unaccustomed to travel delays and things of this nature. But he'll be with the team tomorrow. It'll probably be the first time he'll be with the team. But we're working through that at the moment.
Reports out of Miami were that they couldn't offer him less playing time. That was the reason why he might not look there. Do you think that's kind of what maybe drew him here? You could offer him maybe more playing time than some of the others?
Well, one of the things we don't do is we don't guarantee minutes. So I couldn't speak specifically to, how much he'll play or what role he'll play. That's always going to be up to the coach. It's going to be up to Scotty. With that being said, I think that he certainly adds more versatility to our group. I think he's a different type of player. And I think it's just another person that complements the group that we have in place. And I think we'll always be selective about the people that we look at, especially at this period of time when you have a team that is playing well. It's going to have its struggles here and there, but we feel good about the group. And if we're going to bring somebody in, we want to make sure that it's someone that fits what we're trying to accomplish, both on and off the floor. And hopefully that person is going to see the same fit. And that's probably the thing that we're most pleased about is that, Karan, saw this as an opportunity that he wanted to pursue. He understands, what we're trying to do organizationally and wants to be a part of that. With that being said, we're really excited about adding him because he represents a lot of things that we value and, that are in place with the team currently that can only make it stronger.
Sam, how much does Scott get involved with these acquisitions?
Well, anytime we make a decision, I listen to everybody. I want opinions from everybody. That's how we do most things within the organization. So certainly, speaking with our coaching staff and getting an understanding of, how they see, a player like Karan Butler is, certainly a significant part of the process. And as I said before, I want to be a great listener and then try to decipher that information and make the best decision I can for the organization. So heavily.
So when you're actually talking to the guy, going through that process, whatever player it is, does Scott get involved with that part of the process and talk to the player at that point?
It depends on the situation because there's so many different periods of time. During the year, you've got draft, you've got free agency, you've got trade deadline. You can't really do that. But in this particular case, he's really focused on the season. He's obviously spoken to Karan, but most of those conversations are taking place with myself. And then I also want to make sure that I acknowledge the fact that Mike Wilkes and Troy Weaver specifically did a great job during this process with Karan Butler. They were fantastic. The people that I work with on a daily basis throughout the organization are tremendous, and the people that work in the front office, as I've said before, I'm really just a representation of that group of people, and Troy and Mike were wonderful with this.
What role did Troy play?
I think another person that could present the the organization, so it's not just coming from me. I think multiple voices is always good, and it just gives you another person to answer questions.
Sam, would you have made this investigation and signing had the Thunder not had the injury problems that they've had?
I think it's kind of a hypothetical. I mean, I don't think anything we've done is a result of an injury. I think what we've done is looked at where we are, kind of looked at the body of work for the season, having seen the team play for quite a bit now, and just make a determination, as to if this was an additive, transaction. And we felt like it was. I feel really good, as I said earlier, I feel really good about how we've been able to adjust and adapt through the different, curveballs we've been thrown this season. I think the depth of the team, the development of the group as a whole, due to the players and the coaches and the work that they've done, has certainly helped us, stabilize ourselves. I think we've grown through the season, but I also would be remiss if I didn't say I expect us to continue to get better as the season progresses. And I'd expect that we see continued growth from the group as a whole, not just from one player or one specific group of players.
Aspects of who Karan is as a person or player that jumped out to you that made him seem like a good fit?
I think probably the if I were to talk specifically about his makeup, the thing that we really like about him is he's resilient. He's a guy that he's a grinder, and he's tough-minded, and he's a guy that's got great bounce back. So those are things that we value.
I know Talbot was scheduled for an MRI last night. Any update on that?
Yeah, actually, that was going to be something I would mention before I got down from here. So we had the additional imaging. It's the same injury, but given that it's in the calf, and those are the literature speaks to the likelihood of re-injury, we're probably going to be without him for a while. From a week standpoint, we know you guys have to report something, so we're going to do our best. He may come back a little sooner from this. He could come back a little bit later, but we're going to give you 4 to 6 weeks as a period of time that we'll probably be without him. With that being said, I think as we have during the other situations we've had this season, I'm anxious to see what we do with that. I'm anxious to see what we do with that period of time, how we're going to delve into it, how we're going to use it to improve and get better. And I'm really confident that we have the guys in place to take advantage of that and keep us moving forward.
I mean, I know obviously it was at a different time, but the Karan Butler signing now, is that coming at a really good time?
Well, I mean, for me to sit here and say that would be hypocritical because, we're not making the signing as a result of one thing or the other. I think, if anything, it speaks to the fact that depth is important if you want to play at an elite level because the NBA season is a long, long season. And, if you're fortunate enough to play in the postseason, in order to get, to the finals, that's 2 months of basketball. that's why I couldn't stress enough that for our team right now, we're going to need everybody to go through that that grind of a year, and we're in the middle of it right now. So Quran certainly will be helpful, in terms of our depth, because you're going to have things that are out of your control. You're going to have to deal with them, and I think it's how you react to those things, how you deal with them in real time, and what you can get out of those situations so that you're better moving forward.
Sam, it's a bit of it's really an unfortunate circumstance, but you kind of stumbled into a position where you might have two players who are seeing sort of the future, Steve Adams and Jeremy Lamb, potentially now starting for this team because of the injuries to Perk and Tabo. What are you interested in seeing from that? How eager are you to see those two in a different game?
Well, what I would say to that is, first and foremost, you always want to be playing with your full squad. We know that we're a better team when we have everybody at our disposal, and it gives Scott, maximum flexibility to make decisions and make adjustments. But in terms of saying, this player or that player is future-oriented player, I would take a different position with that, simply because of the fact that Steven and Jeremy, those guys that you mentioned, those guys have been integral to our success this season. We're not in this position without the performances of Lamb, Adams, and I would go so far as to also include, Andre Roberson, because he stepped up in different situations, and he's been successful and stabilized us through those opportunities that he's had. Perry, obviously, he'll be starting this evening, based on what Scott said earlier. So all those guys have contributed to not necessarily a look down the road, but they've had been present day contributors. I think that bodes well for the future, without question. But I also think that they've been excellent in the roles that they've been asked to play this season, and Hashim as well, given his performance the other night against Memphis. That's not easy to do.
You've had guys in the past, mid-season,
Mhm.
very similar deal.
Right.
Besides what they bring to the roster, what does it do to the mental side to everybody, players, staff, everybody? When you see other teams making February moves for a playoff push, and then you do it yourself. So have you found there's a psychological benefit to know that, hey, we're showing up every day figuring anything out that we can?
I'm trying to understand how to answer that. Can you say that again? Sorry. Does it help everybody's frame of mind? Well, I think anytime that you bring somebody into the organization that you feel like can help you and has a purpose, certainly I think that's a welcome addition. But I also think that the group that we have in place has been together for a while, and I think that I would hope that there's a certain amount of internal confidence in what it is that these guys have put together over a period of years now. I often reflect back, and you guys roll your eyes sometimes when I talk about the impact that Kevin and Russell and Nick have had on the franchise, having been the first group of guys to wear the uniform. But I think those guys have developed a lot of confidence in what it is that they've accomplished over a period of time, dealing with different things, adversities, managing successes, and I don't necessarily think that they're looking externally for all the answers. I think that there's been a growth and a maturity in the group that we'll work at it and we'll work to figure it out. The things that we have in place are things that are reliable and dependable. If we do bring somebody in, it's my responsibility to try to put everyone in a position to be successful. So that's why we try to be selective with who we add. I think if anything, if someone walks through the door, you want to make sure they understand what they're coming to be a part of. And I think the guys on the team also understand that everyone has to sacrifice in order for that to take place. And our guys have been good about that.
Anyone else?
Hey, is this
Last one.
Is this just a promotional effort to sell
Well, we actually attempted to sign Kevin Ollie to a 10-day contract, but he was busy, Barry. He was busy. So yes. No, we it's funny how some of those things work. Those guys all happen to have lineage. We talk a lot about the type of characteristics we look for players. We look for in players. And one thing about the players from UConn generally is that they're pretty tough-minded. They're physical guys. They've played in big games, and they've played with other elite players. And so we think a lot of that program. We also obviously think a lot about who's coaching that program now in Kevin. He's had a huge impact on the team and remains close to the organization. But it was not a specific deal breaker if the college experience came from a different school.